my name is Hannah. Welcome back to my channel. I am super excited today to talk about the best fiction books that I have read in the past year in 2022. So let's jump into my top rated books of the year. Now, my very favorite book of the year, I just made a video about this with my mother-in-law, is A Place for Us by Fatima Farin Mirza, and I adored this book. I thought it was meaningful, intricate, just really well done. It was about an immigrant family coming to terms with different choices that the children make and their lives over time, and I thought that it was just beautiful. Really well done, that balance between tradition and moving forward, and it was just such a beautiful book, super meaningful, really probably my favorite book I've read all year. I recommend this book to everybody. Anyone I see, I recommend this book. I love this one. The next book I just read a little bit ago, and surprisingly, I really loved the book The Sentence by Louise Erdrich. And this book had such a strange premise, I really didn't think I was gonna like it. We have a woman who is working at a bookstore and is being haunted by her most annoying customer after the customer's death. And there were so many elements that were a little weird, like the protagonist, it starts out with her going to jail for moving a body, and there was just a bunch of stuff, but it ended up being really meaningful and coming together in such an amazing way. I really thought it was well done. So I'll probably have a longer review coming soon about this book, but I really liked this one. Like, this was a 5-star for me. Now jumping back to the very beginning of the year, I read Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune, and I don't know what it is about T.J. Klune's writing. I really adored this book, as well as his other book, The House in the Cerulean Sea. I thought this book was really rather meaningful, as well as being kind of cutesy and adorable. And this is following a man who dies and is at a crossing point, and he stays there, and it's kind of a weird premise, but I thought that it was really kind of a beautiful book and just delightful. It was just one of those books that I enjoyed every minute of reading it. So yeah, I do recommend this one. I really liked it. Now, I am sure that you have all heard the book Kindred by Octavia Butler recommended many times, but I did read that this year and thought that it was a really good look at slavery and had some deep looks into racism in the US. It is a science fiction book, but that's not really the focus. It was just more of a plot device in order to tell an interesting and intricate story, and I thought that it was really well done and had more layers the more I thought about it versus when I first picked it up. I also really loved the book Betty by Tiffany McDaniel. So this book is set in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and is following a family. Our main character, Betty, is born to a Cherokee father and a white woman in the United States, and dealing with the racism and the cycles of abuse in family life. It had some moments of being very difficult to read, but also really meaningful and really well done. So this was an excellent read. Another really good read was Purple Hibiscus by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and I thought this was really well done. It is following a family, 2 kids, and they are in Nigeria and dealing with a very strict and abusive father, and also political upheaval. I thought there were a lot of elements, a very interesting setting. I really liked this book as a bit of a coming-of-age book, and seeing our main character, Kambili, as she grows and learns through some really difficult circumstances. I thought it was really well written, and I really did enjoy this one. I also really enjoyed the book The Twilight Zone by Nona Fernandez, and it is talking about 1984 in Chile during the Pinochet dictatorship and how people would just go missing, and it kind of sets up this feeling of eerie unreality, and it really taught me about some events that I didn't know a lot about, and also just was really good at setting kind of an overall feeling. And so I thought this was a really well done book, especially because I learned some new things and did some further research after. Another really excellent read was The Silent Companions by Lara Purcell, and this has a widow going out to a house that seems to be haunted by something, and people end up dying, and it's kind of that thriller, horror, suspense, and I thought it was just perfect. Perfect in the atmosphere, perfect in being scary but not gross. It was just that perfect haunting thriller that I really wanted, and so I enjoyed this a lot. I read the book The Mountain Sing, and I thought that it was a beautiful story of a family in Vietnam. It covers multiple generations and the time period over the Vietnam War, and just this lasting bonds of family relationships and the difficulty, and it was just a really good historical fiction as well. So I do recommend this, especially if you liked, for example, Pachinko, or one of those other books that kind of follows multiple generations of family but still has a strong narrative thread. I think you would really like this one. Another one that I just enjoyed a lot was The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. And this book is following three sisters in New Salem as they are using their magical powers, and there's prophecies. I liked the idea of magic as kind of a little bit of a metaphor for women's power, and how these women were going to join maybe the suffrage movement and move things forward for women's rights. And I liked it. I just enjoyed reading it. Although this is not my only book that I read by this author this year, I also read A Spindle Splintered. It was a short book, and I didn't really like that one. I didn't think that it really was long enough of a book to give justice to the characters or really bring anything new to the fable that it is based on. And so I was really surprised by The Once and Future Witches, just because I feel like I had enough time to really get connected with all the characters, and I really do recommend it. It was a good one. I enjoyed it. So I read The Lacuna by Barbara Kingsolver, and I really did enjoy this book. It is following a boy, and it's kind of across quite a bit of time. We get Frida Kahlo and in Mexico and Diego Rivera, and we also get the US and Pearl Harbor and World War II, and we kind of get the split between the two different cultures, and there was a lot that went on in this, but I really did find it enjoyable, and I was very invested in what was going on with this character. It was good. I enjoyed it, and I also learned a little bit about Mexico during this time period. I mean, I know it's fiction, but enough that I went to go look up, oh yeah, so what was Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera doing during this time in Mexico, and what was going on with the communists, and what it was enough of a starting point that it made me interested in learning more. So I really did enjoy this book. So I think that was 11 books that I really loved reading this last year. So if you've read any of these books, let me know what you thought. And if you have any books that you really enjoyed this year, let me know. I feel like this last year was maybe more of a nonfiction year for me, but I still feel like I got some really good fiction books. And I'm excited for this next year to find some good fiction books, especially some of those books that maybe don't have to be super instructive. I'm hoping to find more books that are really entertaining and delightful to read, but at the same time have a little bit of depth to them, because I do get kind of annoyed when it's just, this is a fluff book that gives me no meaning and was a waste of my time. But also, sometimes I read books that are too heavy and it ends up weighing me down, and I would love to find more books that are just that right blend of fluffy, sweet, with a little bit more depth. I'm thinking like TJ Klune. I really liked that book. I liked The Silent Companions as well. Just, I wouldn't maybe call that fluffy, but something that's maybe not all that deep, but is interesting and has a little more complexity. I don't know. If you have recommendations, let me know, but I will be looking for that going into the new year. So thank you for watching, and I will see you all on the next one.